All right. So back to the scenario. There's been a moderate earthquake this morning. Early in the morning, LAFD responding to the critical emergencies. 911 is busy, ringing busy. You've met up with your fellow CERT members at the neighborhood staging area. You've formed a 3-person damage assessment team. You've assessed your route, and you're on your way back to the staging area. You're maybe about 30 minutes away from the staging area when you hear the sound of tires squealing and a loud crash. Your team runs towards the sound, and upon arriving, you find that. What do you do? So, I want to go back to the idea of doing triage, making order from chaos. This is a chaotic scene that you've just walked across. And if you don't follow the steps and have some sort of orderly progression, you will not be able to survive this well. And the idea is we need to make sure that we're doing the most good for the most amount of people. What are my priorities? Well, first of all, is the scene safe? If there's no fire, there's no fumes, the wheels aren't still spinning, it's not going to get much safer than that. But if there's a fire, you smell fumes, there's a puddle of gasoline under this, this is definitely not a scene that's safe. If you go into that scene, you may not come out of it alive. So also, did this knock over power poles? Are there wires dangling above? Is the tree that it hit teetering and about to fall on top of you? These are the kinds of things you need to visually assess real fast, but make sure you do it. Make sure you know that everything looks at least stable. Now, who needs help first? Teenager fell out of the back. They're the first person there. Are you going to run up to them and immediately start talking to them? The answer is no. You're going to yell out before you even get to the bus. Yell out, if you can hear the sound of my voice, come to me. And you want to hopefully have a few people jump out of the back of the bus and start wandering towards you. You're going to direct them. Okay, I need you guys to go over there, underneath that tree, stay there, and we're going to come back and assess you. But stay there until we get back to you. I think I jumped ahead. Is the scene safe? There we go. Scene is safe. No gas, no fire, no fumes, no masked gunmen. We're going to look at all 6 sides, make sure the scene is safe. Don't head straight in. Make sure you have a plan of how to get out of here. If we go into that bus, do we know how to get out of that bus in case there is a fire that comes up or something else goes wrong? Are there other exits to this bus? Can I kick open a window and jump out through the top? Or is there an emergency hatch on the top of the bus, which is now the side of the bus? If it's not safe, back away, request backup, get help over there, but don't go in yourself because you're putting yourself at risk. If it is safe, proceed with caution. Constantly reassess, make sure you know if anything has changed and gotten worse. So what do you ask second? Do I have the right equipment and resources to safely work on this particular problem? If I need to cut my way into the bus, do I have that training and the equipment to do so? If not, I put myself and the people inside at risk doing so. But if the back door is open and I can get in there, do I have medical supplies? Do I have at least PPE, gloves, whatever I need to make sure that I'm safe when I go in there and I touch potentially people who are covered in blood? Make sure help is on the way. If you see a bus and you jump into action and you run in there and go jumping in and you have not called for help, you've done something wrong. Now, in the scenario, 911 is busy. We've already deployed to we've already gone to a CERT staging area. We're hoping that that CERT staging area has a way of getting a hold of 911 or the fire department, and we're going to get medical help. But we need to let the staging area know that what we've found and that we need medical help. A lot of times in the CERT training, it's always call 911. The expectation is during a disaster, a major earthquake, cell phones are going to be down and the 911 system is going to be down. So the answer is not always call 911. The answer is call for help, call for backup, make sure somebody knows that you're out there, where you are, and that you need help and what you have. So if you have a radio and you're calling in, the basic message is going to be, who are you calling? Who are you? Where are you? What do you have and what do you need? It's going to sound something like this. And this is going to be a radio operator calling this in. Even just walking up on this, this should be what the radio operator is doing without having to be told by the team leader. Staging, this is North DAT team with emergency traffic. Staging will hopefully respond back to you. North DAT team, go ahead with your emergency traffic. Staging, this is North DAT team on Cleveland Avenue, about a block up from Terrace 49 at the park. You've now told them where you are and who you are. Now you tell them what you have. We have an overturned bus with unknown number of injuries. You haven't gone in yet. You don't know how many people, how many victims you have in there, but you're letting them know that you have an overturned bus and probably injuries. We need a medical team at our location. What do you need? And we're going to begin triage and get back to you with more information. So it's perfectly fine to call into your staging area or whoever you're reporting to and letting them know preliminary information and that you're going to get back to them with more information. That way, if you need something or they need to be alerted to this incident, they can at least be aware of what's going on. If they never hear back from you, they're going to assume something has happened to you and they're going to send help. But if you never told them about the incident, you never told them where you are, no one is coming to help you out. Hopefully the response is going to be something like North DAT team. We have an emergency medical team en route to Cleveland Park, ETA 15 minutes. Now you know someone is coming to back you up. So the way we're doing teams and team leadership and organizing the different levels of teams, a damage response team or a damage assessment team rather, a medical response team, is in odd numbers. The bare minimum is going to be a 3-person team. That's a team leader, a radio operator, and a scribe. If you have a team of 5 or a team of 7, you also have 1 or 2 working pairs with them. And that command team is going to then sit back away from the incident, monitoring it while the working pairs go do the work. But on a damage assessment team, the idea is you want to get out there fast and you want to find out how bad things are and report the incidents in so that the staging area can start building a response and send out response teams to deal with the incidents you're reporting in. It's going to be a light team, just that command element, the team leader, the radio operator, and the scribe. But what's great about this is you actually have the ability to break up that team. The team leader, the responsibility, the sole duty of that team leader is to make sure that the team gets back safe and everyone makes it home. So the team leader out of necessity has to be always hands off, has to remain a safe distance away from the scene. If they're the ones who goes running into the burning building, that is not a team leader. You at that point have no team leader. No one is there to make sure that everybody else is safe. So if that happens and you see this happen and you realize this is a problem, congratulations, you've just become the team leader. And do what you can to kind of salvage this team. But that person who just ran into the building is trying to get somebody else killed. At the very least, if anything happens, that team leader has to have the ability to call for help. And so what can happen is that team leader can take over the duties of the radio operator and the scribe. Hand them the radio, hand them the note or the pad or whatever, the clipboard, and then the former radio operator and scribe become a working pair and they can now start the assessment. They can go in and do the triage while the team leader sits or stands away from the bus with the radio and starts taking notes in case anybody yells out anything. So you're going to start triaging. You're going to clear that, clear the walking wounded, yelling out, calling out, and then giving them direction as to what to do and how to be safe somewhere where they're visible, where they're still nearby so that you can keep an eye on them. But at the same time, they're not part of the incident in case it blows up, literally.
Patrick, I got a question.
Yes.
So I'm a little confused about what you call, if the situation with the bus, the team leader, the radio operator, and the scribe, if people are not walking out of the bus towards them, do they go in if it's safe together?
I'm sorry, what's the question? Is it safe to go in because people walked out?
If a certain number of people on the bus walked out and they assessed those people and they put them, they set them aside and told them to wait, do they then go in to assess the remainder? And do all three of them go in?
So the answer is no. First of all, you still need to make sure the scene is safe. Just because people have walked out of the scene does not mean it's safe.
Okay.
It's safe to go in there. Second is the team leader absolutely positively never will go into that. If we look at what the fire department does, you have an engine company. There's a captain and there's an engineer and there's firefighters who will actually go into the building. They will put water on the fire. They will do whatever needs to be done. The captain stays out and stays away. The captain is there to make sure that his team gets out of there safely. So you will not see that captain going into that incident. Same thing should apply to us. If the team leader and the radio operator and the scribe all go into the bus and the bus explodes, who's going to call for help?
Okay, so if the scribe, so you're saying that the radio operator, if there are more people inside the bus and it appears to be safe to enter the bus, are you then saying that the radio operator and the scribe go in to make the report? Okay.
So the team leader can take over the duties of the radio operator and scribe. So that the radio operator and scribe can become a working pair. And we're always going to do things in pairs of two, buddy teams. So we don't want to split them up and say, you go one way, I go the other way. Because if something happens, and something will happen if you're alone, you don't have that person to drag you out because you got hit in the head with something and have gone unconscious. Or you were the first one in and you collapsed, but your buddy is on the other side of the room and didn't see that. And now your buddy also goes down because they didn't see something that took you out. That makes sense to everybody?
Yeah, does that mean then if the team leader is outside of the environment where there are injured people, does the team leader then take the radio from the radio operator?
Yes. So in order to call for help, that team leader needs to have the radio. So the radio operator is going to hand over the radio, the scribe is going to hand over the clipboard, and they're going to go do what they need to do at the direction of the team leader. The team leader is now going to take over those roles, holding the radio and the clipboard so they can take notes.
Okay, so
they're not going to go assess the walking wounded because they need to keep an eye on the scene that is the incident and make sure that their team gets out of there safely.
So does that mean that the radio operator and the scribe, if they're acting on a team and they go into the environment, are they calling out their report to the team leader who's acting as the radio operator and scribe, or that they just coming out afterwards and giving the report, trying to remember what was going on there?
They're going to do what they need to do. It's going to depend. If you're in a building, yelling out through the concrete of this building might not get you anything. Now, maybe you have a second set of radios and you can communicate. It really is going to depend on what you have and what you can do. You're going to do the best you can do with what you have.
Okay.
Hey, Patrick.
Oh, yeah.
Can I add my 2 cents in there? This is John Luna, LA County EMT. Yeah, the other thing that people forget is that, radios, especially low-powered radios, if you go into the proverbial tipped-over bus, your communications aren't going to make it out of that bus. It's like a Faraday cage. And so, I mean, you can yell out to your incident commander what you're looking at as you're triaging people, but but that incident commander still has to be outside of the immediate hot zone, so that everyone actually has some sort of bearing as to what's going on.
Thanks, John. All right, so your team is going to go in and they're going to start assessing. They need to determine who's immediate, who's delayed, and who is deceased. Who is going to die in the next 60 minutes? That is what you care about. Those are the people that need help now. You're going to mark those people as red. If they can't get out, if they didn't get up, walk out, and they're not dead, and they're not immediate, then they're delayed. Yellow tag them and move on. If they refuse to help, give them a red tag. Say, all right, we're not going to touch you. Here's a red tag. Just hold on to this. You're going to assume that something's going on. They don't want help. They've been in a traumatic incident. Mark them as red. Count them towards your count. So at least you have a good count on how many victims you have there. And one thing you can do is, if you're using, I don't recommend you use the expensive triage tags that you can buy that the fire department uses. They're about $2 each. That means that a 10-person bus crash, that's $20 for that pack. The triage tapes that they sell, it's they're in colors. They're just pieces of plastic in a roll, red, green, yellow, and black. Those are easy enough and cheap enough that you can keep that with you. And when you tie it onto someone, you want to tie it on to each person on the same limb of each person, either their wrist or their arm, not around the neck. Don't tie anything around someone's neck. Tear off a piece and stick in your pocket. That way, when you come out, you can quickly count those pieces of tape that you've shoved in your pocket and get an accurate count of how many victims you've had in there. Again, if they're not breathing, tag them as immediate. You're still going to be talking to them. You're going to introduce yourself to them. I'm an emergency response team person. I need to check to see if you're okay. Can I help you out? Yes. Okay. They're breathing. They've answered me. They can follow simple direction. And you're looking at them and you're assessing how fast they're breathing. They appear to be breathing normally. All right. Can I have your hand? I want to check your capillary refill just to see how you're doing. They lift up their hand to you. You grab it and pinch their fingernail bed. You've told them what you're doing. And you're also determining that they can follow direction here. It refills in 3 seconds. Okay, that's probably why they didn't get up. You're going to mark them as red and move on. Or it refills in under 2 seconds. Okay, they're breathing normally. They were able to follow direction, and their capillary refill is normal. Maria, yeah. What color would you tag that person?
Could you repeat that? I daydreamed for a second. I'm sorry.
Okay. So you've walked up, you've introduced yourself, asked them if you can help them. They say yes. You're checking as you're talking to them that they appear to be breathing normally. You ask them if you can check if you can have their hand and check their capillary refill. They reach out to you, you grab their hand and pinch their fingernail bed, and it returns to color in 2 seconds. What do you assess them as?
It's a green.
Okay, this is in the incident, so they did not get up and walk out.
Oh, they did not walk out. You mean you walked up to them and they couldn't walk out?
Correct.
Okay, so delayed.
Exactly. So you see how you're doing this. You're doing this all at once. You don't necessarily need to do this step by step. As you're coming up, introducing yourself to them, they're acknowledging you, and you tell them who you are and that you're asking for help. They give you consent, and then you tell them you want to check their capillary refill and can I see your hand? And they lift their hand up to you and you check their capillary refill. This is how you can do triage much faster than 30 seconds or a minute. That probably takes you about 15 seconds to do. and it tells you everything you need to know.
You have to determine whether they're ambulatory or not then?
You don't. You already know they did not get up and walk out.
Oh, okay, okay.
So it's irrelevant. You're not trying to find why they're injured or how they're injured. You're trying to find out if they're immediate, delayed, or dead, obviously. If you go into a scene, you've already called out, asked for people to come to you, and they did not, then they're not minor. They're not walking wounded. Now, one other thing is you're probably going to do that twice. You're going to yell out before you even go into the bus. If you can get up and walk out, come to me. That's going to clear some people, but it might not clear everybody because they couldn't hear you. So when you get into the bus, you're going to do that again. If you can hear the sound of my voice, come to me, or come to the sound of my voice. And that might clear a few more people who are deeper in that couldn't hear you. And again, you're constantly talking to them, narrating exactly what you're going to do, so you don't get that look of shock on them, asking as they tug away from you, what are you doing? Someone is coming in really bad. Can't. Somebody have a question? Okay. So you're going to observe their breathing. Again, too fast or too slow. If they are pale and they are barely breathing, they're immediate. You don't need to check anything else. Something is wrong with this person. Don't spend the extra time trying to figure out how immediate are they. Again, you're going to do the Blanche test and ask them to follow directions. We already covered that. So that's the basics, and that's how you can do it a lot faster than following the step-by-step. But if you need to fall back on anything, remember the 32 can do. Are they breathing more than 30 times a minute? And that is, it is fast. It is very obvious that something is wrong. It is, you don't need to count anything. You can tell this person's not breathing right. Something's wrong. Does their capillary refill happen within 2 seconds? That, you're going to have to touch them. You're going to have to poke, but you know, if they're really pale and they're sweating and they're not breathing right, you don't even need to go that far. Just mark them as red. Something is wrong with this person. They need immediate medical attention. And then ask them to follow directions. You don't need to take it step by step, but if you do, that's perfectly fine. 32 can do. Check their breathing, check their capillary refill, ask them to follow directions. If they fail any of those, they're immediate. If they pass all 3 tests, mark them as delayed, because for some reason they didn't get up and walk out. Move on to the next victim. That clear to everybody?